Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar on the benefits of adopting a total experience strategy. My name's Simon Shanks, General Manager at Synergy Enterprise Solutions, and I'm joined by Preeti Bridgman, Freshworks' Director of Solutions Engineering for APAC, Middle East, and Africa. Our topic for today is the total experience strategy. So we're going to open up by providing some examples on what exactly is a total experience strategy and framing also how this compares to maybe a traditional customer journey of today. So our example scenario, we're going to use a use case here of a customer who's requiring roadside assistance. Now, in today's world, apart from those leaders who are already working in it with a TX-aligned customer journey, this is a common experience that a customer, I'm sure many of you on the call, I know myself personally, have faced when you've been needing a service in a critical need, in a time of critical need. So in this scenario here, our customer has broken down on the side of the road. They require some assistance to get back on the road or get their vehicle removed from a dangerous situation. So what they initially do is make contact with their roadside assistance provider. Generally, this is offered through one stream. So you're going to make a phone call into a contact center. More often than not, this is going to be there will be a period of wait time for the customer as they're waiting for that call to be serviced, and they're hoping for a quick answer and a quick outcome to get them back on the road. After some time, once the call is connected and comes through to an agent, the customer is greeted with a generic introduction. Hello, welcome to Acme Roadside Assistance. How can I help you? And then they spend some time providing information to be able to identify themselves. And this is where the contact center agent on the other end of the line is asking identification questions, maybe questions around a registration number to associate find the associated vehicle and associated policy for which they are required to provide assistance. Our next stage, the conversation continues, and it is now about trying to determine where exactly is this customer? Where do we need to send our vehicle? And if we have any Melbourneites on the call, we'll use the CityLink tollway as an example. Unless I'm right near the exit that is closest to my home, if I break down there, I'm typically not going to know, what's the exit I've just gone past. Where am I? There's some back and forth there to determine what's probably the most accurate location on CityLink for the vehicle to be dispatched to the appropriate place. Once this vehicle is dispatched, I then play a waiting game for that vehicle to arrive. If it doesn't arrive within the quoted ETA, I'm going to need to make a phone call and typically start this process again. Wait in queue, validate myself, and then seek an update from a customer. So what does this result in? It's actually a relatively poor user experience, both from a customer, but also from that agent. I've got one means by which I can interact, and then there's also a lot of waiting to connect to someone, waiting for the person to identify me, waiting for them to find out where exactly I am so they can send help. From the customer service representative or the employee experience, this is also quite a challenging situation they find them in. And in this scenario, this is most of what this person's job might be. It's cumbersome. They don't have the optimal tools to be able to perform their work and effectively look after the customer. And there's a clunky experience. I have to go through these manual processes of identifying the customer, working out where they might be, and then dispatching the vehicle. In terms of what we call multi-experience, and that is effectively having context on who is my customer, what are past interactions, shaping my current interaction based on what's happened previously. Again, this is something that doesn't exist from a customer sense. I've made a call, I've had to spend time identifying myself. From an agent perspective, the same. We're identifying a customer, I'm not able to greet them personally, and I don't know what experiences they may have had up until this point in time, even if it is someone who's already contacted us and is now making a call back to see where is the vehicle, it hasn't arrived on time. In summary, from a customer sense, this hasn't been the best experience. Even if the ultimate outcome of receiving some roadside assistance is achieved, the process has been slow and it hasn't done a whole lot to ease my anxiety or ease my stress as I'm in that relatively, I guess, challenging scenario being broken down on the side of CityLink. So this is our traditional customer journey example. Now, if we compare this to a total experience aligned customer journey, we see things can work very differently. To start with, once I break down, I'm going to make a phone call into my roadside assistance line. Now, while I'm waiting in queue, I'm presented with the option to opt into a fast track service whereby I can be sent a text message and provide some information around some details around my vehicle, namely my registration number. So I'm going to complete the opt-in by saying, yes, I would like to be fast-tracked. I receive a text message to my phone, didn't need to provide a number because that's been captured via caller ID. Press a link within the SMS that asks me for my registration number, and I click submit. A few seconds later, a contact center agent picks up my call. They greet me by name. They already know what vehicle I'm calling about, and they also know my exact location because when I've submitted my license plate detail through the web form, that's also shared the geolocation coordinates from my mobile device directly into the agent desktop. I'm already feeling at ease and actually quite pleasantly surprised with the experience and the engagement that I've had so far. I've been able to connect to someone. They know who I am. They know where I am. They know what vehicle I'm calling about, and they've been able to provide very quick assurance and assistance and in form of having a vehicle dispatched to me. At the same time, I might receive an SMS with a live tracking link to view the location of the roadside assistance vehicle that's en route and an ETA, and I've got an option there. If I do need to call back, the interaction's treated with context. The system knows that I have a job in the system, that there's a request in the system for help, and I'm routed to a priority queue where I'm serviced by an escalation team. So if we now look at our pillars of total experience, the user experience has been much different. It's been really, really fast for me to use. I've been given an option to opt into a fast track when I have. It's been intuitive to opt in, and it's been intuitive to complete. From the agent perspective who's servicing my call, they are efficient, but they're definitely feeling empowered. They know who's calling, they know what vehicle they're calling about, they know what policy this is attached to, and they also know where I am, so they can very quickly dispatch someone to the exact location where I need their help. From a multi-experience perspective, I have been treated with context. I've been greeted by name. When I've then made a follow-up call in saying, hey, you know, where is the vehicle? It looks like it's close on the tracking link, but it's not. My call's been routed to the top of the queue because they're aware that I have an existing request for assistance in place. And overall, I've had a very pleasant customer experience. What was a highly stressful potential situation has been resolved quickly. I've received the assurance I've needed, and I've received the service that I've needed. And it's actually been quite enjoyable considering I was broken down on the freeway. And with that, I'll hand over to Preeti to dive a bit deeper into what is total experience.
Thank you, Simon. Firstly, I want to apologize if someone can tell that my voice doesn't sound right. I'm not feeling well, or I wasn't feeling well, but I'm recovering very quickly. So apologies for the voice. So I'm going to spend the next 10 to 15 minutes, conscious of time, going through some strategies on how we can solve for total experience. So as Simon has laid out the theory around total experience, it's really about 4 main pillars: customer experience, employee experience, user experience, and what we refer to as multi-experience, or rather what Gartner refers to as multi-experience. To deliver total experience, though, we need to really focus on 2 critical stakeholders in the total experience strategy. And these are your customers and your employees. And they genuinely are your twin pillars for success. And so as we look at these 2 twin pillars, we want to understand more about what customers and employees want in a solution. So as we look at customers, we know that they want more control. Regardless of what industry you're in or what type of customers you serve, we understand that devices are important to them, channels are important to them, personalized support is important to them, as well as ensuring that we can communicate with them about the products and services we offer and engage them through multiple different experiences to make sure that we offer them the right level of support. So the expectation that they have is quite high. The reality, unfortunately, falls apart. So I'm sure as you all look in your own organizations, and as we look through some of the prospects that we serve, we can see that under the hood, to deliver on this promise of customer and employee experience, we've actually got a lot of different systems stitched together by glue, sticky tape, band-aids, whatever you want. And it really means that these systems are fragmented, processes are very manual, complex, and ultimately makes everything a lot more difficult for both the customer and the employee. And so when we think about what customers want, why are we struggling as an industry sometimes to deliver on this promise? Because ultimately, our support teams and our employees continue to be overwhelmed. The volume of interactions, transactions, communication has risen against your brand. Agents are not adequately equipped, whether they're frontline staff, sales agents, customer support agents, call center agents, they are not adequately equipped with the resources and the tools they need to do their job. And in addition to that, they do not have access to consistent support systems, which means that they are doing activities that require them to log in to multiple systems constantly to get data. Adding another layer to this complexity is that journeys are no longer linear. So if you think of your own examples of when you've made a purchase or when you have gone through an online e-commerce journey, there are so many different channels in which we can communicate with these brands, but those channels become intertwined. So most organizations like to think of themselves as multi-channel. And that's okay, but it kind of refers to the fact that if I communicate with a brand online or through a chat or through an SMS, then they're going to respond in that channel. But what happens when we shift to omni-channel, which most organizations think they are, but really they're more traditionally multi-channel, which is I message through WhatsApp, then I call you, then I email. All of those interactions are intertwined and all of those are used for me to make a purchasing decision. But I need the brand to know that I've done those 3 things and that those 3 activities, regardless of channels, are linked. And so we know that customers are moving towards messaging platforms, towards third-party platforms to engage with your brand. And that trend is only going to increase as time continues. So what I want to focus on is what are some of the tactical things your organizations can do to deliver total experience. And we think that if we focus around unified messaging, automation, delighting customers and employees, and personalizing your conversations, you will ultimately drive that total experience strategy in your organization. So let's look at some of these in detail. To drive customer experience, we can personalize our conversations. What does this mean? It means to have a unified interface for both customers and for agents, where they can see the customer's journeys in one interface. So in this example, you can see that they've called, they've emailed, they've gone online, and all of those conversations are in one place. We've got the contact information, we've got any other relevant sales information. They're not jumping between different systems to get access to that data. Secondly, we need to make sure that as queries and questions come up from customers, we're routing them to the right individuals that know how to solve their problems. Imagine how many times you've got on calls and someone's trying to work out that issue or investigate it, and you know at the back of your mind they're not trained up to do this. What if we could do it faster, routing things to the right human agent, or rather routing things to the right virtual agent so that they can solve it themselves as well? Finally, context is really, really important. So to deliver better customer experience, we need to know about the customers that we're trying to serve so we can get actionable insights. One of a great example of a customer basically said to me, Preeti, I need you in 20 seconds to be able to show me everything about a customer while I'm doing on the phone the small talk with these customers, so that I can work out what their spend is, what their customer lifetime value is, what their portfolio looks like, so that when they're asking me a question, I can actually use that information to write, or in this case, to comment, or drive the right element of support. And finally, using self-service technology, bots, chat, messaging, WhatsApp bots, email bots. There's so many different things that we can do with artificial intelligence, natural language processing, and decision trees to ensure that we allow the customers to get 24/7 support, even when you're sleeping. Bots can do a lot of the mundane tasks that agents can do, and customers should have the ability to access those bots and self-serve and resolve their own issues. So now when we think about employees, if customers are allowed to have bots and AI, why shouldn't employees? Virtual assistants that are run using the same technology, using machine learning, are able to allow agents to go and complete mundane tasks. They don't need to train and learn how to go and cancel an order. They simply need to click a button and let the bot make that decision for them. They shouldn't really need to know what is the next best action. The bot should be able to collect data from all different systems and pull it together so that they can suggest to the agent, maybe the next thing you should do is recommend X or do X. So I spoke a little bit about leveraging artificial intelligence, but what if, as customer queries were able to come into the agent? Should the agent have to read it, or could the bot read it automatically and actually auto respond to that customer? And the agent simply can QA the work that the bot has done so that the bot is continuously learning. So now we're truly making the agent responsible for solving complex problems while the bot solves the mundane, simple problems. And finally, unifying the customer view. Does it really matter that a customer messaged and then emailed and then sent us a chat and then engaged with the bot and then went online and then called us? It shouldn't. And why should we, in our platforms, see it in several different platforms? If you think about your own organization today, you probably have 5 or 6 platforms to manage those channels that I spoke about earlier. But why shouldn't you see it in a unified interface? Why shouldn't you be able to understand that that customer has actually contacted you because they're anxious and have anxiety over a particular issue? And then you can resolve that issue regardless of channel. So you truly flip between channels and pivot and have an omni-channel conversation with your customer. And so this is really around the multi-user experience and the multi-experience. So being able to have multiple customers, multiple agents, and multiple channels all in this single unified interface. On top of that, so we spoke about customer experience, employee experience, multi-experience, and now user experience. Without focusing on user experience for both employees and customers, we are not able to drive the right level of support that employees need or that customers demand. So branding, your support portals, your engagement, your access, your gateway that customers have into having conversations with you is really critical. Making sure it's easy and clean and that they know how to solve their own issues. In addition to that, saving time. So think about how frequently things change in your organization. Do you really want to rely on IT or have a separate project just so you can update a sequence in a bot or make it easier for you to have disparate processes between IT and the business? Wouldn't it be nice if you're in marketing and you have a bot, you can update that? If you're in customer support and you have a bot and you need to update it with a new solution article or a new recommendation, you can do that. And you don't need to rely on IT to do that for you. So focusing on user experience, not just for employees and customers, but for the administrators and for the business developers who actually use the platform. And finally, we spoke about the unified customer view. I'm going to bring it right back up again, because without this unified view for customers and for employees, now customers would obviously see a different view, but they need to feel that every communication that they have with you is a unified experience, that you know all of the things that have happened either in the last 5 minutes to them or the last 5 hours or 5 months, and that you have that view of it. And so being able to view that, look at the logs, look at the activities, look at the previous tickets they've raised, look at the CRM data, be able to click on one button and contact them, email them, or communicate with them through calling functionality. Doing that in a unified interface is really what's going to drive that user experience aspect of total experience. So with that, I wanted to have 2 closing slides. One is, if we want to improve customer experience and multi-experience, then we need to increase our CSAT scores and our NPS. But how do we do this? We can do this by leveraging channels. We know we need to leverage channels and go to that point, but truly going to an omni-channel approach where you can do things like customer pivots. Yeah, they messaged me and called me and emailed me, but I don't need to react on all 3 channels. I can lump that together as a single conversation and drive an increased NPS and loyalty. By focusing on your employees, by focusing on retention, churn, training, productivity. Why have agents do really mundane tasks when you can make them the hero of the conversation with the customer? And finally, focusing on UX and MX, multi-experience, by unifying your platforms, by enabling smarter conversations and agents to have these better conversations, by having a unified interface with a unified customer view, and having access to everything at your fingertips. No more Alt-Tab and Control, copy, paste, and all of that to get from different screens, which will drive better customer engagement and higher customer lifetime value. So just very quickly about the platform that can enable all of this. Freshworks focuses on those 2 stakeholders, customers and employees. We do this by having a portfolio of products that are focused around supporting our customers during times of friction, by having a database of customer contacts that we can communicate with and we can track across their journey with your brand, and by being able to communicate and market to those customers, not just based on what did they spend, what did they buy, what have they done, but based on, oh, they contacted us about a particular issue. Let's use those events throughout that transaction to also market to them or communicate to them. And then your employees need to make sure that they're empowered. We need to make sure that they have the right tools, the right devices, both physical and software. And so we provide a set of services to make sure that your environment, your systems, your laptops and devices are always up and running. We make sure that we do everything from HR processes, onboarding processes, legal, finance, etc. But there's this sweet spot in between where employees and customers really come together, and that's through the messaging platform and the artificial intelligence, which is really powered by Freshworks Neo. So that allows data to be interchanged between Freshworks and your systems so that we can truly share data and create that unified view for agents, as well as drive better engagement for customers as well. So Simon, with that, I'll let you conclude this webinar.
Thanks, Preeti. So with a partnership at a glance, both Synergy and Freshworks together have thousands of customers across Australia and New Zealand, encompassing an array of industries, enterprise, mid-market, and government. In terms of our team, we do have teams throughout Sydney, Melbourne in Australia, and Wellington in New Zealand, consisting of consultants, implementation experts, personalised support, service agents, and a team of architects and developers. And the whole purpose of the team and the platform is to allow organisations to leverage the strategy, the total experience strategy, to delight customers, delight employees, and take their service delivery to the next level. In terms of, I guess, getting started, following on from Preeti's takeaways above, we are offering complimentary total experience readiness sessions to any of our participants here today. Post-webinar, we'll send out some correspondence around what we've covered here, along with a booking link where you can register your interest and line up a complimentary session with one of our TX consultants. We do have 1 minute to go, but we've got a bit of a buffer if any of the audience did have any questions. Please use the chat function and we'll be more than happy to answer these for you now.
Yeah, so we do have a question on the chat. We've recently moved our contact center to the cloud, but just voice. Is it possible to pivot towards total experience model without having to replace the new platform? The great thing about a total experience strategy is it doesn't require you to rip and replace what you have today. It requires you to focus on what you have today and really understand how are you putting not just the customer at the heart of the problem, but the people that impact those customers a lot, the employees, the agents, the support staff, IT staff, and all of the support functions that impact the customer experience that customer gets. So yes, you have a contact center platform, but there is nothing stopping you from adding additional channels, from continuing to have that unified customer view and that unified portal so that you can just bring in those channels through integration and plug points. All right, and the next question is, can you provide some examples of customers who are already using total experience? Any statistics on improvements that we have delivered for them? Simon, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, 100%. So that roadside assistance example we gave at the start, that's actually based on a customer that we've worked with for some time to help them develop this total experience strategy. So they do provide the roadside assistance for the bulk of the major insurance companies and vehicle OEMs across Australia and New Zealand. In terms of some key statistics, so through the geolocation piece that we talked about at the start, so just as a reminder, that was where we have the opt-in in queue to be sent an SMS through agents completing that, which is then sharing their geolocation coordinates with the operator. That in itself saw a reduction in handling time by 24%. The next stage that we're working towards is actually to capture the type of fault that someone is experiencing. So the faults such as we're out of petrol, we've got a flat tire, the car won't start, they will actually be dispatched a vehicle without the intervention of a human agent, and that's actually looking to cut down their total quantity of calls requiring a human agent by 40%. So I guess there's just two explicit examples there with one customer use case that's had a massive roll-on effect for their efficiency, but more importantly, the experience and timeliness of service to their customers.
Awesome. Well, I think we're out of time, and that wraps up our webinar today. So I'd personally like to say thank you to everyone who joined, and I hope you found it was informative. And thank you, Simon, for sharing this session with me.
Thanks, Preeti. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice afternoon.